Well, good evening, friends. It is so good to be with you this evening. I got some exciting news that I'm happy to share with you. So this is so much fun. Thank you for joining us. And if you're catching this on the rebroadcast, hey, special welcome to you as well. Just a reminder, my name is Nick. If you're watching this, you probably know this. I am the pastor here at Resonate Church, and we have big news for you about Resonate. So let's just jump right into it. As many of you guys know, we've been searching for a building for the past few months. And that started off kind of small with this idea of like, well, what if we can't actually go back into Baldwin? I had a friend mention that to me who also meets in a school. He says, I don't plan on going back. And I was like, that doesn't seem possible. But yet here we are looking at that very reality. So we've been looking. We think we found something. We're pretty sure we have found something, and we're in negotiations on exactly what that looks like. But it looks like a very good deal, and so I wanted to pass that information on to you. So just a few things to kind of get us started. I want to talk to you about a problem, an opportunity, and then a possibility. And so I want to dive into each one of those and just bring you up to speed with where we're at and what we're looking at doing. Now, here's basically the reality of the problem. Last year in 2019, we spent $575 per week for about 50 weeks to meet in Baldwin. And that brought our yearly rent to $28,750, a fairly manageable number, just under $30,000. And it was great. Now we did set up and tear down, and that gave us 2 rooms and 2 spaces and a janitorial staff to clean up everything for us. Well, in 2020, we were preparing to grow. We wanted to expand our children's ministry to include really more for the elementary school age kids. We had one of our good friends come on board, Trey Steele. Many of you guys know him, and he was ready just to take this thing, and he had big plans and big dreams, and I was excited to see where it went. And so we were preparing, we were raising money, if you remember, going into the COVID season, to up our weekly rent by $300, which would allow us to lease or rent the library right there next to the music room where the preschoolers were meeting. And that was going to bring it to $875 for 50 weeks, which would bring the total yearly cost to $44,000. Now, at the time, we looked at that and we said, hey, that's a faith step for us, but it's manageable. We felt good about that, and if you remember, people were just starting to sign up and just take 1 week at a time, and it was an exciting time. But then COVID happened, right? And we got shut down on Friday the 13th, of course, March. And in that season, we all went to into lockdown, into isolation, into quarantine, trying to figure out what was next. And we started to see this. I started to hear these rumors. School might not come back in person in the fall. And that just seems so I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. I don't know about you. Maybe you're more of a realist than me. But I was just like, there's just no way. And yet here we are with the first week of school, and kids are starting school online. Well, that obviously put our school districts in a huge bind, and they scrambled. And AISD had a monumental task, and I'm in no way critical of what they've had to do. We've been praying for them and hoping for them. But they communicated to us, to churches and other groups that rent their facilities, that they were hoping to open back up to allowing groups like us to rent facility, but they were going to increase the rent 25%. Now, they said this was for cleaning. I'm sure there's some other fees wrapped in there, but a 25% bump in the rates that we are already paying, or looking to pay more accurately, took us from about $44,000 right under $55,000 a year. Now, that $55,000 includes 50 weeks. So there's obviously 52 in a year. We tend to take that Sunday off between Christmas and New Year's, and then just another one here or there so we could have a service project. But it also doesn't include things like Good Friday or Christmas Eve. So 50 weeks a year, pulling a trailer, setting up the building, tearing it down, packing it up, and going home. That's the cost that it was going to we were looking at to stay at Baldwin. When that number got that high, we started to have some very serious conversations about what it would look like for us to find a new space. And we started looking, starting right there at Baldwin. We expanded in both directions. We looked east, we looked north, we looked west, we looked south, and we just started to look for spaces that could really contain a worship space and dedicated children's spaces. So our vision was really simple. We wanted to have a place that we could gather and learn about God, explore spirituality, explore faith, and just be together and worship. And we also wanted another space where our kids would be safe, cared for, where they would have a great time learning about this God who made them and loved them, right? That's what we would hope would happen, that you would come to church, you would feel connected to God, you would feel lifted up, you'd feel connected with your friends, and your kids would have the exact same experience. So we started looking for a space that could accommodate both. And we found some spaces that would be really, really good with children, and we found some spaces that'd be really good for worship, but that combination was tough. We were looking for about 5,000 square feet. Anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 would work just fine. We found a couple locations off of 290. And so we went hard into them, went and visited them. We reached out to those particular landlords, and we said, hey, we're a church. We think we're a good church. We think we're a cool church. And we're interested in your space. We kind of shared this vision with them, and they said, no, thank you. They weren't interested in leasing to a church primarily because of parking. Now, of course, we were like, but it's Sunday morning. None of the other businesses are open. There'll be plenty of parking, and yet that wasn't enough to sway them. So that kind of just left us in limbo. And every week, we would just kind of search. We would drive around looking for lease signs. We looked into some purchasing opportunities. Those seem a little too daunting for a young church like ours. And then in July, a new place popped up on the radar. I remember clicking on it and clicking through the pictures, and it was, I don't know what to share. I'll share them with you in just a second, but it was so serendipitous, it seemed, because here was this building that used to actually have a church in it. That a few decades ago, this metal building was built, and they had, opened with a church, Dripping Springs Presbyterian to be specific, and they started in this building. And since then, it had been become like a leaf guard place, and it was a mechanic shop, and now it was sitting vacant, and they were looking for somebody to fit into the space. And that's the opportunity that I want to kind of share with you. So here's what we found. I'll show you kind of first. Here's what we found. This is a picture from the outside. Forgive me, I'm not the photographer in our family. I took this, but you get a basic idea. It is a metal building. There's a lot more inside. Just wait. But it opens up, and it's right off of 290. In fact, here's a map to kind of show you where it's at. You'll see it's about halfway between Belterra and Dripping Springs, and it's right on a major road. It's about an eighth of a mile off of 290, off Canyonwood Road. And for those who, and it's further out than we wanted, I'll be honest with you. I wanted to be closer to Austin. It's further out than we wanted. But here's the deal. If you've ever driven from Meridian or Circle C to my house, or even further from Shady Hollow to my house, I want you to know this is actually a minute closer to you. That this facility is actually a minute closer to you than our actual neighborhood, weaving through our neighborhood. So it's not far out. Now here's the beautiful thing. Like I said, it used to be a church. I'm going to show these pictures, and you're going to see, oh yeah, it did used to be a church, and you're going to see the opportunity that we saw. So you walk through those doors. This brings you right into the entryway. This is the entryway when you first walk in. You can see it's got these big doors, it has double doors going in, double doors through, and then double doors to the sanctuary to the left right there. You can see it's already finished out. It's in pretty good shape. You can get a better picture of the floor right here. I know this is a little tight. This is the first hallway that you see when you walk in. And on the right side and towards the end at the end of the hall, those are both classrooms that are available. That first left is a kitchenette. So it has a sink and cabinets and a refrigerator. So we'll be able to make our own coffee and have all sorts of treats and things like that. And then further down the hall, the next two doors, those are bathrooms. And they are rather large bathrooms. They are 3 seaters each. Well, 2 standers and a seater for men. Okay, but they're built for a church. Now, this is one of the biggest costs that I was most concerned with. Because walls and sheetrock, I know costs money, but once you get into plumbing and once you get into all the things that go into that, all the doors and all of that, it can get a little pricey. The fact is that these bathrooms are in great shape, and they're already there. I never thought in my entire life that I would get excited about bathrooms, but I did. This next picture, this is the kids' hallway. So let me bring you back to the first entryway. If you'll look just to the right, you'll see a couple of doors. This hallway is just to the right. I know I should have taken better pictures. Some of you guys got a chance to come and see it. And here's the kids' hallway. So what we would do is we would actually shut this down. This would actually be looking down the hall from where you would get where kids would be checked in. And what's important about this is we want to make sure that we have a secure point where kids go in and they go out. Obviously for security reasons and things like that. And while we don't anticipate anything ever happening, we're gonna work hard to make sure that it never does. This is a picture of one of those classrooms. It's actually the one there at the back of the hall. And then, like I said, it used to be a church. It's the other side, so that all this was left intact for the other buildings, other businesses that occupy it. And then here is a picture of the sanctuary, or what used to be the sanctuary, what we would turn into the sanctuary. And you can see exactly where the stage used to be. The room itself is 50 by 50, and you'll look, it already is plumbed for air conditioning. You used to have it. We're going to have to put that back in. We'll talk about that in a second. And it is just a big warehouse-looking building, which is kind of what we were going for. I know. Who wants to worship in a warehouse? Well, hear me out. We have just kind of fallen in love with some of the breweries and distilleries and wineries that we see out here in the Hill Country. And one of the things we noticed was just how simple and yet elegant some of these designs were, specifically family business. If you've ever been out there, that's kind of the center of our inspiration. And it is warm white walls, well taken care of concrete, big ceilings, and that was the thing that we actually wanted from the very beginning. So we're already kind of set up and prepared for that. And then one other thing I want to show you about the building, host more other pictures. If you want to see them, please email me. There is a big bay door. It's 12 foot tall, 12 foot wide, and it rolls up and goes out into the back parking lot. Y'all, this is awesome. I love this vision of just being able to throw open the door during worship, have this kind of open air environment, the birds singing and all that stuff. It's just going to be great. In fact, we're talking, it's a crazy idea, but we're a little crazy, of what if we were to actually kind of put a back porch out there, kind of fence it in, put some sort of covering down, maybe artificial turf, and just picnic tables out there. And so you can just hang outside, hear the message, what's going on, or just hang out after service and have lunch with a friend. We're super excited about this. So this is the building we found. I went and looked at it. I was like, this could work. Oh, one more thing. There's even a cry room in this building. And for those of you who aren't aware, a cry room is not when like things are so hard you have to just go and cry. We could maybe build one of those as well. I think that's called the bathroom stall. I'm joking. I know it's kind of insensitive. It was also kind of funny. No. A cry room is a place for nursing moms or just moms with rambunctious kids who aren't sitting still there in the nursery area to have a private room where they can still hear the service, watch the service, but with all the privacy they need to feed. So I'm super excited about this. I just think it's wonderful. This is the building that we found. So Catherine and I went and looked at it first. We were like, this could really, really work. We reached out to the realtor. He seemed like they were pretty interested in having another church. We brought our steering team out. They absolutely fell in love with it. And then we had a viewing where some of you guys were able to actually come and check it out this past Tuesday. And everybody who walked through was just thrilled and super excited. And there's other things. There's some big oak trees in the back that we're going to put picnic tables under, and we're going to stretch out some lights to give it this beautiful backyard feel. There's actually some areas where there used to be a playground, so we're going to have to put playground equipment back in. But just imagine, my daughter's beside herself with the thought that there could be a playground where she goes to church. So she's thrilled about that. That's the opportunity. Now, I want to share with you a little bit of the possibilities that we see. Now, before I show you the pictures, and they look really, really cool, I want to share this thought, though. I was having a conversation with a good friend, and they just simply said, this, buildings change churches. And that really stuck with me. And I went home and I wrote it down on a Post-it. Because this move brings some change to our church. And what does that mean for us? And I left it there and I would read it. You know, it was on my desk. So I read it a couple times a day and I'm wrestling. What is it? What is it? What? And eventually it dawned on me. What this building, I believe, is going to do for Resonate is to help Resonate become what Resonate is already becoming. I think this is almost like a catalyst, if you will, or even a crystallization. It's becoming the butterfly, so to speak. It allows us a bigger space, a bigger opportunity, a more permanent opportunity for us to continue to do the great things that we've been doing, that you guys have been part of, that you're making happen. And it makes so much sense. So, some possibilities visually before we jump into some of the other things we have planned. Remember that entryway? Well, this is kind of talking with my wife, who has a far better eye for this. This is where we see it going, right? Just this beautiful place. You walk in, aesthetically it's working. We're going to bring out those warm whites like I talked about. It's going to accent this rock flooring. We're going to accent, or we're going to do all the trim in some sort of stained wood. It's going to look sharp. And then right there on that back wall, you probably couldn't read it. It says, God is real, so is his love, and we're here to show you both. And that is so much the heart and vision of Resonate. We see these hallways going from this a little bit darker and just lighting that up, bringing some light to it, some signage, and it's just so inviting. You could imagine kids running down that hall, so excited to be with their friends and hear more about the love of God. And then that drab warehouse-looking sanctuary. It's going to require a little bit of work, but I think it's going to end up looking something like this. Painting that back wall white, building a kind of a floating wood wall off the back, lighting up the back, just creating a warm, welcoming place for us to gather and worship. Now that's the possibility for the building, but I want to talk about the possibility for our church. So first, Sunday mornings. It would change Sunday mornings quite a bit, I think, because the space would be ours. It would feel like ours. When we would walk in, we would know the condition of the room. If it had been cleaned, it would already have been cleaned because, well, we'd be the ones making sure it was cleaned. There wouldn't be that setup, which means that for those on the setup team, myself included, we wouldn't be starting off our worship week with just chores. Instead, we'd be able to be more present. I think this would also be a building that'd be a lot easier to bring your friends to, because it's going to be a warm and inviting and an irresistible environment for you to encounter the God who created you and loves you and speaks to your soul. That's Sunday. So we think Sundays would get better. But there's also more opportunity here. I see our building being open as often as possible, frankly. We're trying not to fill up the dance card too much, but I could see us loaning our building or giving our building on Monday nights to a group like Young Life, and just invite, who's, if you're not familiar, is a great ministry that is reaching out directly to high schools and middle schools and inviting kids into the story of a God who loves them. Or I could see us maybe taking that Tuesday night or Thursday night and handing that off to a friend of mine who approached me a few months ago, who started this ministry helping young women recover from sexual assault. And she has this really innovative way of approaching it. And unlike most groups that are asking for money, she's just asking for space. And I was like, we got to figure out a way, a home for this in this part of Austin. Well, now we would have one. I could see us doing youth ministry on Wednesday nights, kids coming up, just having a great time being with their friends and hearing about these stories about Jesus and how he invites them into a life of purpose and meaning. I have this crazy idea that maybe we could create this kind of business networking thing, but we would rope nonprofits, those that are doing incredible work in our communities, into the process. And what if we could be the church? Hear me out. What if we could be the church that brokered the relationship between between businesses and nonprofits? What if we could just connect them directly so that nonprofits had more exposure and had more funding and businesses just simply had more purpose? Yeah, we could be that place. We could be a place that we could have Mother's Day out. We could have moms, mothers of preschoolers, where young moms can get together, drop their kids off for a few hours, and just have adult conversations about what matters most. There's even this crazy idea floating out there. What if we created this space and made it available for co-working, but also included childcare? Because we'll already have the children's rooms available. All of those possibilities and more just sit there bubbling, right? And so we're excited about the potential, the possibility that we see in this location. Now, we're pretty sold on the idea, and I'm pretty excited if you can't tell. So I wanted to share with you just some of the realities that we're facing to bring this into a reality. And I want to invite you to really partner with us in helping Resonate become the church that we all hope it can become. Now, let me say this up front, because this is huge from being on ministry for 20 years. We never started a church because we wanted something from you. We started Resonate because we wanted something for you. And as we're inviting you into this partnering, this financial support process with us, that hasn't changed. And that even though we're asking for support, asking for money, I want you to hear our heart is still, we believe that this is going to be an incredible place for all of us, for a church that you're going to love and your friends and people like you are going to love as well. And so that's what's on the table here. So hear my heart. This is not, you know me. I'm not another pastor just trying to build a bigger church for their own ego. My ego is entirely wrapped up in my ability to cook brisket, and Michael Mann destroyed that. I'm not over it. Hey, here's kind of the details. We are looking at an upfront cost of $60,000. That's going to cover things like a deposit, like air conditioning, chairs, getting that stage built, getting playground equipment brought out there. We have plans to theme out those rooms. The cry room is great, but it definitely needs a makeover. And so we just want to get that place looking and feeling the way that we want Resonate to look and feel for new people. Well, and for us. Just a place of potential and opportunity. And so we're looking at about $60,000 in upfront costs. And then beyond that, we're looking at $12,000 in monthly commitments. That's what we're asking for, $12,000 in monthly commitments to help cover things like rent, operational expenses, things, websites for our website costs us about $700 a month, just little things like that just nickel and dime. You know how it works. And then salaries, and then that's the little bit that I get paid, and then our worship leaders get paid. That number hasn't grown very much. Like really, it's the same number, just with additional building costs in it. So that's what we're asking for: $60,000 in upfront costs. And so we're inviting you, frankly, to maybe make a large sum donation to help offset those immediate costs that we're going to feel up front, and then to also commit and let us know that you can commit to helping us carry the weight of $12,000 in monthly expenses. Now, I know a lot of you guys give yearly or give quarterly, and that's great, and you can still continue to do that. Just let us know what to expect. So we want to make sure that we don't start something that we can't finish. We have big visions and plans and hopes and dreams for this church, and we want to make sure that we have enough runway to make sure it takes off. And of course, we are planning for growth. We're thinking that, well, we were already growing as a church. We've grown during COVID, in fact, and we actually would expect to be growing, continuing. But we didn't want to count those chickens before they hatched, or whatever chickens do. Here's where we're at currently, just to get you guys up to speed. We're at right around $15,000 in upfront costs. So we've already had $15,000 given to help shoulder that $60,000 load. And then our monthly contributions. Now, again, if you give yearly or give quarterly, that's not factored in here. This is a particular number that our financial software tracks, is right at $4,000 in monthly commitments. So we're part of the way there. And I'm confident with your love and support and generosity that we're going to get the rest of the way there. So that's the first ask. Can you help us financially with upfront costs and with a monthly commitment? And we want you to pray about this, to talk this over. We are never going to be a secretive church. We're always going to be straightforward, especially when it comes to finances, because we know that there's a trap there. So please pray that over, talk it over this weekend, and just let us know. Send us an email. You're going to be receiving a letter soon. If you want to mail that back, that'll let us know. And you can make your donation if you're tech savvy, if you prefer to do so online like I do. You can go to our website, resonateaustin.org/new home, and that'll bring you to the web page that we created that has pictures and has inspiration pictures of other churches or other things we've seen that we want to replicate. You can see all that, and you can actually sign up and make your commitment there. Now, just give you a heads up. When you do go through our online portal, we absolutely accept credit cards, and you're welcome to use a credit card. Just so you know that costs us about 2.75%. So on $100, that's just $3. That's not huge, but at $10,000, we do notice that. ACHs or bank transfers, which you can set that up. That's what I do. It actually is the most secure thing. You can set that up, and those actually only cost us 75 cents. So just to be forward. So the first big ask, financially, can you help us? The second ask is, are you available to roll up your sleeves? Because there's some work to be done. We need to paint a building. We need to figure out what we're doing with the floor. There's some disagreement between Catherine and me on that one. Okay, she'll win probably. But we need to figure out what we're going to do with that floor. We got a stage to build, a sound booth to get ready for. We need to get this playground looking good. You got a few weekends you can help us out? I hope you can. Go ahead and pencil some of those in towards the latter part of September and early October, because that's what we're looking at. It's okay. There's not going to be college football anyway. I know it's bad news for me too. So we got your Saturdays free. And hopefully you can pitch in and help us get this building ready. And then our third big ask, and this is a big ask. Will you pray with us? Will you pray for us? Will you pray for yourselves in this process? Will you just pray for provision? Will you pray for God to continue to pour dreams and vision into his people during this time? Will you pray for those new people who are going to be coming and really discovering what you have discovered here at Resonate that makes it so special? Can you pray for those things? Can you roll up your sleeves and serve with us? And then can you pray? I want you to know that this is a very, very humbling time for me. Not a humiliating time, a humbling time. It is a time that I'm just beside myself with what God is doing in our church and what people like you are doing to come alongside and to speak life into this vision and to pick it up. And so many of you have already said, yeah, we're in. And you just need to and you just need to figure out what that's going to look like, how you're going to give and when you're going to give. And we're excited about that. So that's where we're at. That's our building update. I think I went a little bit longer than I was planning, but I want you to know this so much. I'm so excited to share this with you. I can't wait to have you guys come and check out the building. We're super excited. Let me pray and we'll be done. God, I thank you so much for today, and I thank you for my friends. I thank you for the opportunity that we have to move in this facility. Lord, it is just amazing how you're providing. And God, we trust that you're going to continue to provide. So Lord, thank you so much for that. Lord, I pray for my friends as they're going to have some difficult conversations or some exciting conversations, that you would just give them wisdom and that you would just give them their peace, that they would know that what they're doing is right. And even if that means that they're going to pass on this opportunity, God, let them know that you're not mad and that we're not mad, and we love them just the same. It's in Christ's name. Amen. You guys are amazing. I love you. I can't wait to see you soon. We'll see you Sunday online, and we'll be in person in September. More information on that is coming. But thank you so much for watching this. All right. Have a great evening.